Get ready to hear the truth about America on a show that's not immune to the facts with your host, Dan Bongino.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I record these intros to the shows, the interview shows specifically after. I'm not kidding. It's not hyperbolic or dramatization for silly effect. This is the most powerful interview I've ever done. It's almost an hour long with Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. All the questions you've had, why he became a target of Barack Obama, what he wants to say to Obama, how he feels about the intelligence community going forward, the infamous Mike Flynn lied about sanctions lie, which is nonsense, how he feels about that and what happened. This is really amazing stuff. I don't say that because it was my interview. It's because he was on the interview, a real American patriot. Today's show brought to you by ExpressVPN. Ladies and gentlemen, get yourself a VPN. Protect your online activity from prying eyeballs. Today, go to expressvpn.com/Bongino. Folks, I got a lot to get to. I don't want to waste any time. The show is always paid for by sponsors who are happy to be here. So let's get to it. We'll get to the interview. There'll only be a few breaks in between. It's relatively uninterrupted, so I appreciate your patience. Today's show brought to you by Stamps.com. This holiday season, more people will be mailing stuff than ever before. That means the post office is guaranteed to be busy. You don't have time for that. Stamps.com brings the post office and now UPS shipping right to your computer. Mail and ship anything from the convenience of your home or office. Plus, Stamps.com saves you money with deep discounts you can't even get at the post office. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS to your computer. Whether you're a small office sending out invoices, an online seller fulfilling orders during this record-setting holiday season, or even a giant warehouse sending thousands of packages a day, Stamps.com can handle it with ease. Simply use your computer to print official U.S. postage 24/7. Forget a load of this. Any letter, any package, or any class of mail, anywhere you want to send it. Once your mail's ready, just schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's that simple. With Stamps.com, you get 5 cents off every first-class stamp and up to 40% off priority mail and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Not to mention, it's a fraction of the cost of those expensive postage meters. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. Don't spend a minute of your holiday season at the post office this year. Sign up for Stamps.com instead. There's no risk. With my promo code DAN, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com. Click on that microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Dan. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, enter Dan. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. Now my interview with Lieutenant General and American Patriot, Mike Flynn. Folks, extremely honored, and that may be underselling it, to welcome an American patriot, a hero, an honest-to-goodness American hero on this show today. Excuse me for the hiccups again, the chemo yesterday. I'm very sorry. But American patriot, and I hope someone I can call a friend someday, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. General Flynn, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dan, thanks very much. And I will just let you know, and I know that you know this, all your listeners, but certainly the Flynn family, has you in our prayers every single day. And we know you're a strong man and you have a strong heart, and you're going to fight this thing and get through it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Again, forgive me in advance. One of the things I can't shake from this chemo is the darn hiccups. I know it's distracting, but you've already been more than generous with your time. So let me start out right away. You issued a tremendous statement after the presidential pardon from President Trump that just happened recently. Any comments on that, and how do you feel about the pardon? I mean, this was just a tremendous moment for the country.
Yeah, well, it has not sunk in yet, Dan, actually, and so it's an amazing feeling. I would say that my family is very thankful. God is an amazing spirit and light in our lives. My wife and I have been together since we were 13 years old. When I would just say that without faith in our lives, we would have nothing. There's so many people, my family and I, that I want to thank around the country, around the world, because people have reached out to us, and you among them, Dan, because from the beginning, you have been in our corner, and I hope in the days, weeks, months ahead that we're able to get out in many cases, thank people personally, but certainly thank them through speaking with professionals like you and letting your audience know that your audience came through for my family and I many, many times. We really thank them for their support, kindness, generosity, and frankly, for their inspiration to keep us fighting.
Well, I thank you, sir. I mean, it was an honor to fight the fight. I knew from the start, as anyone with a sane mind and an IQ in the three digits knew, you were railroaded, and it was really disgusting. Your feelings about election 2020? I know you're out there. I mean, you are not anyone's victim. You're out there fighting a good fight right now. Let's hope we can prevail in this. It hasn't been determined yet exactly what the result is going to be, given all the lawsuits and the allegations of fraud. How do you feel about the election? And assume President Trump does in fact succeed and gets a second term. Your feelings about what that second term would look like?
Yeah. So first of all, I believe from everything that I know and the folks that I have spoken with and some real serious subject matter experts, and then following all of these hearings that have been had in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, the various suits and filings and all this stuff down in Georgia, Nevada. That Donald, first of all, I think that that Donald Trump is going to continue to be the president of the United States. I think that he won in the landslide. I think that we have to allow the process to go through its course. I mean, in 2000, between Bush and Gore, it was a one county in Florida. Now we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of counties across the country. At least 6 states, possibly 8 states that have various actions, legal actions, procedural actions that are working through their course. And I just think that everybody needs to take a deep breath and allow that to occur. I would say that for President Trump, he clearly has passed to victory. What I call, what I say is clear path to victory, and they don't include states like Pennsylvania as an example, which I think he's going to. I think he's going to win Pennsylvania as well once everything plays itself out. I would rather this not have to go through the court system and be solved at the Supreme Court, but that's what we have. We have these the plaintiffs are going in. Those are really the people on Donald Trump's side, and then the defendants on, I guess, the side of deceit and dishonesty. Instead of actually looking for what happened during this very disastrous federal election. So, my optimism in me, the positive person that I try to be, is that Donald Trump will continue to be the president of the United States. He has clear paths to victory. There is sufficient and in gross violation and fraudulent behavior, inappropriate behavior, both technically through this electronic system and also through the mail ballot fraud that we know of. I mean, people aren't signing these hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of affidavits, attesting that to what they saw, and they're not lying about it. So I think the people of this country will eventually win the day, and that's the way it should be, Dan.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of these people brought this on themselves by creating a system in advance that was susceptible to such being easily manipulated and fraudulent. I mean, General, there are sane people on both sides, candidly, who've said, how about this crazy thing like voter ID? Like you have to produce a driver's license to show you're you when you vote. And then when, Democrats and liberals largely fought against that, this is the result. You get chaos and weeks after an election, results still up in the air.
Well, Dan, let me, if I can, the people in this country, my assessment is that they do not trust Washington, D.C. They do not trust the political class. And this is just compounds this election, this disastrous federal election, and then other elections below that, state and local level, that just turned out to be disastrous. Number one, for me as an American and as a guy who served overseas in many countries, this is an embarrassment as an American citizen. Number two, if the political class in this country doesn't see it, they better, because this isn't about Republicans and Democrats and the two-party system that we have, between patriots and traitors, let's say. I mean, what I would just say, this is about how do the people of this country perceive, our country going forward. And there's just no way that with what we have and the outcome, unless we do something different, and it may be a dramatic difference. It may be running elections again in some of these states. It may be just saying that some of these states they're not going to be certified. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a constitutional expert, but I would tell you that the people of this country, many, I mean, at least the 75 to 80 million, probably even more than that voted for Donald Trump. I just don't think that they're going to walk away from this and go, geez, yeah, I'll accept it. I don't think they're going to accept it. And I think that from what you've seen probably too, the various surveys they've done of people in the Republican side of the aisle and people in the Democratic side of the aisle, there's a large percentage of Americans who just don't, who believe that this election was a fraudulent election. So we've got to do something about it. And there is a process. Let's let the process play out. Let's not try to shove it down our throats through the mainstream media that we have and the kinds of, really ugly things that I think that they're doing. The entire public-private media sector, is just, vehemently against Donald J. Trump. And that, therefore, all of the, 75 to 80 million voters that came out and voted for him across the country. I mean, this country won't accept that.
It's really amazing, given everything you've been through, that you're still got your warrior spirit. My admiration for you is endless. I really hope you understand that. And I appreciate your perspective on both the pardon and the election. If I may, I'd like to move on to what I called in my book, the railroading of Mike Flynn. It was really one of the most grotesque abuses of the air quotes justice system, because there was no justice done here I've ever seen in my life. And where I'd like to start off, if it's okay with you, with your permission, is the continued lie out there, documented, easily falsifiable lie that you lied to the FBI about sanctions. So I'd like to set up the question very simply. Number one, you were interviewed at the White House after you were announced and after you took the position of National Security Advisor by the FBI about a perfectly legitimate, legal, and appropriate call with the Russian ambassador that had happened after the election, but before you were sworn in. I'm just trying to set this up for our audience.
Sure.
It's been alleged by media talking heads who have double-digit IQs and can't read an affidavit and a transcript that during that interview at the White House, when you were questioned by the FBI about that call with Ambassador Kislyak that had happened a month earlier, that you brought up or were talking to him about sanctions, Obama-era sanctions levied on Russia. General, one of the things I've always found interesting, and we'll show some of this on the B-roll during the clip, is that there is no mention of sanctions anywhere in the FBI's own 302 documenting their interview. So how could you lie about sanctions that the FBI acknowledged you were never even asked about?
Right. So, Dan, what I would just say in response to that, because there's so much information that's out there publicly, and of course, people will only see what soundbite comes out. And if you're watching, depending on what media source you watch, you think I'm public enemy number one. Here's what I would say. First of all, during the transition and then into the White House, but certainly during the transition, I'm doing my job. I would, because I'm appointed, in fact, I think I was either the first or the second person appointed by the president to serve on his team going into the White House. I probably talked easily to 100 countries and leaders in those countries, not necessarily the president or the premier or the prime minister or the king or whatever. Although I did talk to a couple countries at that level. So first of all, I'm talking to hundreds of countries, or certainly dozens and dozens of countries. So one of which, of course, is one of the the largest countries on the planet. Is one of the countries that we have to deal with is Russia. So all the noise behind that really amounted to what was clearly a setup. And it was a setup as we finally learned only recently, really only the last couple of months, where one particular FBI agent who was part of the 2015-2016 scandal he then went into the 2017 scandal, and he was part of the Mueller investigation. And he finally came forward, and I don't know why. I still don't know the real reason why he came forward. I suspect a couple of reasons, but he came forward and essentially said he got, he was sick to his stomach because the whole effort was we got to get Flynn to get Trump, and that was it. And
General, are you talking about Agent Barnett from the FBI?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And that's a public filing.
That's right.
That's out there. And I think it was late October timeframe or October timeframe when his 302, his document his statement basically came out public, because we were fighting for what everybody has gotten to know is this exculpatory information. We're fighting for that information. So it was a real setup, and of course I'm the target. All these other people, and I'll have another day to talk about all these other components of it, because it's a very complex thing. But it was a setup, and it had nothing to do with crimes or anything that occurred. It actually had to do with trying to not only damage but get Donald Trump out of office, to remove him in some capacity after he defeated Hillary Clinton in 2016. So, and of course, we all know that started early on. So you're right. I mean, to talk about the sanctions or the expulsions, they're totally different. And when you're in the middle of transitioning into something as complex as the White House and a national security advisor position, which I feel bad for Donald Trump because I was not able to stand by his side throughout. And a lot of people go, "Oh, aren't you upset?" If there's a guy that could be upset at Donald Trump, it's me. Okay, it's Mike Flynn. I could be upset at him, but I'm not. You know why I'm not? Because he's not the one that set this whole thing up. It was set up by the previous administration. Why, Dan? The conversation, the transition conversation that Barack Obama had with Donald Trump, why does he talk about two people, two things, two items? He talks about, dear leader Kim Jong-un over in North Korea and General Mike Flynn. Why? Why does he do that? Nobody's ever asked Barack Obama that question. Nobody's ever pinned him down. And I know the answer to that question. But that ought to shake the boots, or shake the feet of, in the boots of every American, that we have that kind of a process or system or person in such a powerful leadership position that is, frankly, probably in fear of what I was considering doing, the kinds of things that I wanted to be able to do. Frankly, not because I was trying to hurt somebody, it was because I was trying to help the country. And when people tell me, Dan, that, "Oh, we're so sorry for what happened to you," I tell people, don't feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for this country, because, the country, and I'll speak for myself, the country didn't get the benefit of decades of service and intimate knowledge that I have of how things operate, and also to be able to advise the President of the United States, because they were damaging him. People weren't coming after Mike Flynn or Donald Trump at the end of the day. They were coming after America, and they were coming after the system that we have, that we should be proud to have. And now we're just in phase, whatever you want to call it, phase 5 with this disastrous election.
We'll be right back with Lieutenant General and American Patriot Mike Flynn. Hope you're enjoying this interview with American Patriot Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. Thanks for your patience. Today's show also brought to you by It's Simply Safe. Ladies and gentlemen, there's always a rise in break-ins during the holidays. It's shameful. It happens every year, though. It's why Simply Safe Home Security is having a huge holiday sale. 40% off any Simply Safe system, which I use here. You know my background. I take security very seriously, and a free security camera. That's 40% off with a free security camera. U.S. News & World Report called it the best home security of 2020. Whether you're traveling or staying put for the holidays, check out the 40% off plus free security camera before it ends this week. We have it in my home, inside and outside. Simply Safe won CNET's Editor's Choice for Home Security, was named the best of 2020 by Forbes and Popular Mechanics. The system has an arsenal of sensors and cameras that protect every inch of your home and protect mine. You can set up yourself in about 30 minutes. It's really that easy. Plus, because they don't need them, there's no contract, there's no hidden fees, and no installation costs. They don't need that. They're Simply Safe home security specialists. They'll take over monitoring your home around the clock and get ready to send emergency help the moment there's an alarm. Go today. Get 40% off Simply Safe plus a free security camera today by visiting simplysafe.com/Dan Bongino. Make sure you get the URL right. Hurry, the deal expires on Friday. That's Simply Safe, SIMPLI, simplysafe.com/Dan Bongino, simplysafe.com/Dan Bongino. Today's show also brought to you by our good friends at ExpressVPN. You hear them every day at the intro to my show. They've been very generous to us, and they always like to talk to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, you know big tech. These companies are tracking you. They mine your data. They take your data. What do they do with your data? Who knows? Do you know? I don't know. On so many issues, these big tech sites have made their position clear. So why are we choosing to give these big tech companies all of our personal data? I don't know. I'm not. Now's the time to take a stance. Protect your personal data from big tech with the VPN I trust in my house right here for me and my family for my online protection, ExpressVPN. When you search for something online, watch a video, click a link, it's all tracked. You know that by big tech? They can match your activity to your identity using your device's unique IP address. When I use ExpressVPN, these companies can't see my IP address at all. My identity is anonymized by a secure VPN server, and my data is encrypted for maximum protection. And besides hiding my internet activity, what I like most about ExpressVPN is how it's super easy to use. I'm not that tech savvy. I've told you this on the show. I figured it out like that. Just download the app on your phone or computer, tap one button, you're protected. So stop handing over your data to big tech companies whose aim is to spy on you and profit off it. They can use that data however they want, whenever they want. Defend your rights and protect your internet activity with the VPN I use every day. Go to expressvpn.com/Bongino. That's expressvpn.com/Bongino. Get 3 extra months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Bongino right now to learn more. Now back to my interview with Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. We're back with Lieutenant General Mike Flynn addressing the absolute abomination of, quote, justice that happened to him. General, if I may, I'd like to tie together. You had mentioned this statement by Agent Barnett from the FBI, who afterwards was interviewed by investigators looking into the targeting of you. And the investigators interviewed this FBI agent, and you accurately stated, we can all see it, it's public documents, we'll put an article up on the screen, you can see it. This FBI agent admitted, this is not speculation, it's not a conspiracy theory, that it was a Target Flynn operation. They just wanted to get you. Now, because your call with the Russian ambassador was a part of doing business, no different than the maybe Biden administration is doing now, they made up this lie that you lied to the FBI. It's a total fabrication. I'll even show some point on the screen here. Jim Comey admitted himself that your interview showed no signs of deception. Matter of fact, you admitted you viewed these guys as just part of the national security apparatus. You never saw this as some confrontational interview. They never told you to get an attorney. They never notified the White House in a disgusting maneuver. But what's interesting, General, is we now have the transcript of your call that the FBI used to interview you. And I can't emphasize that it's enough. Nowhere in that call are the financial sanctions Obama had levied on Russia mentioned. What the ambassador had mentioned to you was the expulsion of the diplomats, and you gave a very clear answer. You said, hey, we just don't want to be boxed in, nothing controversial. And what's really fascinating, General, again, not about sanctions never came up. You didn't lie about sanctions because nobody asked you about sanctions. There's no evidence of that anywhere. It's not in their 302s. It's nowhere. But what's fascinating is we got a hold of the FBI agent who was in the room with you's handwritten notes. And on the handwritten notes, you know what it says? Box us in. In other words, you told him absolutely what you said to Kislyak. Don't box us in. He wrote it down, General, in his own notes. So again, I don't mean to harp on this, but this lie will not stop that you lied to the FBI. You did not lie. You gave them the exact answer you gave Kislyak, and they wrote down the exact same words.
Yeah. So a lot of people then say, what happened? Why did I do what I did? Why did I decide to plead guilty in the latter part of 2017? And the one thing that I have said, and I said it in my statement, and I think you were able to read those. Family is paramount. My faith is paramount. But my family is key to me. So I would just say that the pressure in a different way, Dan, and for your audience, it's a threatening environment in a place where you don't want to be, and you've got the U.S. government structure apparatus, and you have to make a decision. And for me at the time, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in other time during other times, just because of time for this show. But it's one of those places where you don't want to be, and everything that transpired back in January of 2017, the thing that should be irritating, and I know it is irritating for Americans who have seen it, when Jim Comey is joking and people in the audience are laughing about how they're going after someone who's, sitting in a really critical position for the country, and he's joking about how they're going to do it because I just felt like doing it that day. I just felt like we were just going to send a couple of guys over. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, Jim Comey.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, well, I'll tell you. Jim Comey, for an individual who was the director of the FBI and had other key jobs in government, in the Department of Justice. I mean, I don't know how that guy can look at himself in the mirror, and I know where he's going to go at the end of the day, and I know where people like him should go. And I won't say it on your show, but
gentlemen.
All that said, though, Dan, I am not I'm not a vindictive person. I'm not a vengeful person because I like to believe in people, and I come from a big family, big Irish family, and my father was a retired master sergeant, World War II and Korea vet, and we were taught certain values in our home, and my mother was a great lady, and so I always fall back on who I am, who I want to be. And that's why when people go, they attack your reputation. What is in my heart, what I know, the people that are my family, certainly, and my true friends, those are the people that matter to me. The haters in the world, the media, I could care less. People like Comey, though, how he walks around with his smug look on his face all the time, I don't know how he does it. and I don't know how anybody, allows that guy. I saw something recently where he's going to go teach ethics at Columbia or something like that. I mean, what? So you look at that and you say,
a joke.
Man, our education system must be broken to get people like him to be teaching that kind of stuff. Now, if he's teaching it and using him as an example as what not to do, okay, I'm fine with that. But if he's in there trying to teach ethics about how to be, he's probably, I'll stop there because I really don't want to go, it's like my mother said, if you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. So I'll stop there on the former director of the FBI.
You're a gentleman, sir. I'm not. I can't stand Jim Comey. He's a sleazeball, but that's my words, not yours. And you don't have to don't even respond. That's me. But he did indicate in his own sworn testimony that you showed no signs of deception, which is really weird because if you're going to lie, you'd be deceiving. I know liberals have a tough time with that language barrier thing.
Right.
One more thing on this because I don't want to let this go because it came up again in an Axios article recently claiming that you had lied to the vice president. In case there's any confusion by leftists, that you were confused about the difference between the Obama sanctions and the expulsions of the diplomats, and that's why you, air quotes, lied about something you never asked about. That's not true either, because right afterwards, you gave an interview to the Daily Caller where you were very specific about the difference between sanctions and expulsions, and you addressed expulsion. So I'll let that go. We don't need to beat a dead horse. We'll even put that up on the screen. For liberal journalists who are confused about this American patriot and your nonsense story that he lied, I'd like to go back to 2015 for a moment, because you were public enemy number one, General, for a long time. I have some theories on it in my book. I'd love to it'd be an honor to hear but you had questioned for a long time being a senior, one of the most senior officials in the American intelligence community under Barack Obama, I might add. as the head of the DIA. And you had been very critical of some of the intelligence usage and intelligence products being produced on the battlefield, openly critical. And you said, guys, listen, ladies, we've got to fix this. Our warriors are out there, and the product we're producing is not up to par.
Right.
So you were public enemy for a long time for a lot of people. Would you care to expound on that?
Well, I would just say that I was forward or in operational units for the majority of my career. I really didn't go to Washington, D.C. ever. I was never assigned in Washington, D.C. until I reached the rank of 2-star general. And I purposely did that. I would have rather, stayed in Afghanistan or Iraq and or elsewhere than go to Washington, D.C. And looking back on things, fighting Al Qaeda is easier than fighting the damn deep state. But what I learned and what I saw, and I saw this in the early part of my career, and when I got into a more senior and certainly more influential role, and we were engaged in direct combat with with an enemy that was out to kill us in a variety of ways. We had to figure out new ways to operate, and this is not just counterinsurgency or counterterrorism. This is new ways to conduct intelligence operations on a very dynamic battlefield. And so my thing was, if you throw your requirements over the transom back up to Washington, D.C., and they mash them around for days, and we're operating in seconds and minutes, and Washington, D.C., even during wartime, operates in days and weeks and sometimes months. So I wanted to flip the whole thing on its head, and we did. And by flipping it on its head, we caused more of a laser focus out of the bigger intelligence community hierarchy on supporting the warriors on the battlefield. And I couldn't live with myself if we weren't doing everything we could, because when you go to ramp ceremonies in combat where you're putting caskets on the back of an airplane, you go to you have a memorial service outside your operations center on the battlefield because you just lost 3 or 4 guys in a IED event, or those kinds of events, or you get reports on the radio of guys in a firefight. We lost 2, we lost 3, we got a couple of wounded. We need to get medevac in. I mean, all those kinds of things. My responsibility was to drive the intelligence system to make sure that we had what I call bulletproof intelligence as quickly as we could put together and given to the guy or gal that had to go and conduct some operation that was going to put their life at risk. And I wasn't going to stop to argue with somebody about the bureaucracy and, it can't, this is going to take some time. We got to wait for the boss to come in on Monday. Give me a break. So that rubbed people, obviously the wrong way. But what it taught me, Dan, was it taught me about the problems and the organizational processes and the dynamics and the bureaucracy. So as I became more senior, I really saw what needed to be done from a larger perspective. And when you start to take on, as Donald Trump has taken on, elements of the deep state, I was, my thing has always been about taking and looking at organizations and making them more effective and pushing what they do away from Washington, D.C., because there's plenty of people in Washington, D.C. that can do, a lot of other things, but to push as many of those people back out to the field, so to speak, and get the orientation away from everybody kissing somebody's behind in Washington to actually supporting, from a military sense, our warfighters out front. And I can tell you, we were able to do that. So because I ask myself sometimes, how did I ever get appointed by Barack Obama twice? One as the Assistant Director of National Intelligence.
That's right.
For partner engagement, and I spent a year, and then as the senior most military intelligence officer in the Department of Defense, heading up one of the largest intelligence agencies in the world, not just in the United States. So, and I kept my attitude the same way that I had it when I was a lieutenant or a major or a colonel or a brigadier on the battlefield. that attitude, I wanted everybody to be focused, because my responsibility was to, the big consumer, which of course is the president, but at the same time, we also have capabilities and forces that are supporting our warriors. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understood we have a priority out there for every American that's downrange, so to speak. And it's just like in your world of law enforcement, where you're going to put somebody down the street and you're going to go up against some criminal that is armed. You want to have as much intelligence as possible. You want to know everything about the neighborhood. You want to know everything about the individual, what kind of weapon systems he got. That's tactical information. For me, I was looking at now as a senior guy, I'm looking at the strategic components of that. And I know, and I'm sitting here today talking to you, Dan, about it. The strategic components of our U.S. intelligence community need to be reformed in such a big way. And frankly, I would say that I think during Donald Trump's second administration, that is clearly something that he should focus on, and he can focus on that through a variety of means. And that's a conversation for another day.
We'll be right back with Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. Again, thanks for your patience. I really hope you're enjoying the interview. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Genucel. It's a Christmas and holiday season sale from Chamonix. And this Christmas season, you'll get Chamonix's brand new Zotique Deep Correcting Serum absolutely free with your order. The new Zotique Deep Correcting Serum from Chamonix means skin that's smooth as silk, free from redness, acne and acne scars, and faster collagen production. Zotique's increases firmness, smoothness, and diminishes adult acne. It's a big favorite of Paula, the lovely Paula. Redness and stress breakouts. You can even say goodbye to crow's feet and laugh lines. And with its immediate effects, see results in 12 hours or less. Everyone will see the difference, guaranteed, or 100% of your money back. It's that simple. That's the Chamonix promise. Visit Genucel.com. That's GENUCEL.com. Genucel.com, and enter promo code DAN40, that's DAN40 at checkout for even more holiday savings. Treat yourself this holiday. Get Chamonix's brand new Zotique Deep Correcting Serum, Cristal's at-home microdermabrasion treatment, exfoliating mask, and a surprise luxury gift, all free with your order today. That's 4 free gifts plus free upgrade to priority shipping. Genucel.com, GENUCEL.com, that's Genucel.com. Today's show also sponsored by our friends at BCM, Bravo Company Manufacturing. Ladies and gentlemen, they make the finest firearms on the market, hands down. You're never supposed to tell people what a company isn't, but in this case, it matters. This is not a sporting arms company. If you're looking for a sporting firearm, a hunting rifle, that's fine. There are great companies out there that do that. That is not what Bravo Company Manufacturing makes. They make the finest. They design the finest, engineer the finest, and manufacture the finest life-saving equipment on the market. BCM assumes when a rifle leaves their shop, it will be used in a life or death situation by a responsible citizen, law enforcement officer, or soldier overseas. So quality is all that matters to them, ever. BCM rifles are hand-assembled and tested by Americans in Heartland, Wisconsin to a life-saving standard. They put their people before their products because they feel it's morally their responsibility to produce a firearm that works. God forbid in an emergency, it's not a paper target. Ladies and gentlemen, do not buy a firearm without heading over first to Bravo Company, MFG.com. I have 2 of these in my safe. They are my go-to. You can discover more about their products, special offers, and upcoming news. That's Bravo Company, MFG, like Mary Frank George. Bravo Company, MFG.com. You can also check them out on YouTube at youtube.com/Bravo Company USA. Our show today, ladies and gentlemen, back to it. We're back with Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, American patriot, and really a man I admire greatly. I can't say that enough. So General Flynn, just kind of doubling down on that, you did what any sane military leader would do, try to protect your men on the battlefield and give them the most advantageous intelligence so that they can leverage that and use it to win. Unfortunately, you then became a target. And I noticed that right around the time, interestingly enough, I'll leave his name out of it, but another decorated general, who's no friend of President Trump's, by the way, called you one of the finest intelligence officers he'd ever seen in his life. Your reputation was sterling, untarnished at any point. And right around 2015, we find this bizarre meeting of this inflection point where everything changes. And all of a sudden, you become this perceived enemy to the United States. This bizarre hit job starts. You go to an intelligence seminar upon invite, nothing unusual, in Cambridge. in 2015. And at that dinner, nothing happens. Nobody alleged anything unusual happens. It was a standard intelligence seminar. You were in intelligence. But a woman by the name of Svetlana Lokhova is there. She's seated with you at the table. You go to the intelligence seminar, you did the grip and grin, shook hands, talked to everyone. You leave, no allegations of impropriety whatsoever. You were told everybody, you had done all the appropriate briefings. Nobody with you alleged anything. But years later, this pernicious rumor starts out of nowhere, nothing to back it up at all, that there was some impropriety between you and the woman after this 2015 meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Were you reading that for the first time? Like, what the hell? Pardon my French. Are you guys even talking about? Like, this is totally out of the blue.
Exactly. And so what this was all about was because during this time when this sort of started to bubble up, I'm right there I'm standing by the side of Donald Trump, who is just, he's screaming through the primaries. He's now, the candidate for the Republican Party. You go through the convention. We're out there at campaign rallies, and it's looking and feeling really good. And so all of a sudden, it's like, okay, whatever these guys do, however, and this is how they do business. It's tarnish, it's tear apart the reputation. It's go after the person instead of going after what might be a problem. If these guys really were, the FBI and the CIA, for that matter, there's a few people in there that are okay, but if they were really good at counterintelligence, they're not going to be looking at me. They should be. There's much bigger problems that we have in the world of counterintelligence. So what it was all political. It was all about finding ways that we could tarnish this guy. I mean, like the president told me the other day when he spoke to me about the pardon, which I really appreciate. He says, you're probably the cleanest guy in the world, and he's right. He's right. Because they Dan dug into my entire life. And at the time, I didn't know that they were doing that. They're listening to all my calls. They're doing all these things, right? They're doing all these things. And you're saying to yourself after, when I begin to really realize, and again, I don't want to get too deep into it, but you begin to realize, wow, these guys are really, talk about some snakes. But when I step back and I look at it all, let's just use Peter Strzok having an affair with the not just right. a woman, but having an affair with Lisa Page, who was the number 2 lawyer at the FBI, working directly for the deputy director of the FBI. So she is in the FBI, and you have this going on, this guy, and they're doing texting and all this communications in a very public, public way, meaning it's interceptable by our adversaries out there. And they're having an affair. And this guy's running counterintelligence operations. Dan, with your background, you know how bad that is. Nobody ever talks about that. I mean, you're talking about, talk about compromise. So Mike Flynn is I'm not clean as snow because I'm an imperfect guy. But I would tell you that I feel, sorry that that gal, as Lokhova was dragged into this, and they don't care. They don't care how they treated her. The system didn't care how they treated her. They didn't care that they really hurt her badly. And I apologize for our government's apparatus for doing that to her. But I would just say that people need to look at the kinds of things that these people were doing in the Obama administration, and how egregious, insidious this is. And they thought that they were going to get away with it. I'll tell you why they weren't going to get away with it, because they got caught. So they got caught up in this whole thing. And thank God for what we were able to do with Miss Powell, who's just a champion, a warrior, to be able to extract out of the government, the kinds of things that helped me get to the position I'm in now, but also the compromise that these people put our country in. Because it's not just Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. It's all these people and all these text messages and all this information that's going back and forth on unclassified systems that, Dan, I'm telling you, China. We worry about China. We worry about Russia. We worry about all these other countries. Yeah. If you were to ask me, did they know? Are they getting all that information? You're damn right they are. All that information is readily available to these countries who are very sophisticated collectors of information and intelligence, and they knew what was going on better than what our government professed to, because they didn't want the embarrassment. So that's really again, you're going to get me on a soapbox here, and I don't want to be on a soapbox right now.
No, this is critical because my audience has been following your case for 4 years, and that's why we're so honored to have you. We want to hear it, from you. We've invested a lot of time in your case, and a lot of, I've been called a conspiracy theorist and a nut for defending you, and he lied. He admitted he lied. No, he didn't. I bet it was a federal investigator. People plead guilty for all kinds of stupid reasons.
Because it's your show, but I would tell you that there's been people that have been right about this from the beginning, and you're one of them. And there's others.
Well,
there's others,
you,
and
Yeah, a lot of others.
Right.
Mark
others,
Levin.
But exactly.
Sean
Mark
Hannity.
Levin has been one. Rush Limbaugh has been another. You guys have been right from the beginning, and there's others out there. There's a few others, but there's also a bunch of people that were like, well, I don't know. I don't know about what Flynn. Flynn this, Flynn that. You know what? I've always said I never met the guy. I never. When somebody goes, well, Flynn does this or Flynn's that, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Who's that guy? I never met him. I mean, call me up and ask me. I'll tell you.
And General, just to be clear, before yesterday, you and I have never spoken ever. You sent me, I think, a tweet one time. Thank you or something. That's it. I do not know you. I met you yesterday. But as a former investigator, I knew what happened to you was BS. Pardon my language. But if I want to just follow up on something you said there, because it's really interesting. You had mentioned how, obviously, being an intelligence professional at the highest levels, you're familiar with how the process works, probably better than most on the planet, and definitely better than the dopey journalists who write about you. But Sidney Powell, in one of her legal filings, has a fascinating note. She says in one of the filings that when the transition was happening, that both you and Susan Rice, she being the outgoing NSA, National Security Advisor, and you being the incoming, that you had been notified by the United Kingdom that, hey, this Steele guy is not really our guy. It's in Powell's notes. I'll show it on the screen here. So that's pretty interesting, considering the fact that you're also in on a briefing with Jim Comey and Donald Trump after you'd been notified that, hey, this Steele guy, they're calling BS on him. Like, hey, this guy, the PP tape guy is not our guy. But you're in on a briefing a few days or maybe a week after that with Jim Comey, where Comey starts to bring up some of this in this briefing about, hey, there's this stuff out there, salacious. And it says in the Horowitz report that a national security official, I'm confident it was you, starts to question this reasonably, like, hey, guys, this doesn't sound right. Like, this kind of sounds like disinfo or misinfo or just plain garbage. And you know what's really weird? After you call out Comey and say, hey, fellas, this doesn't sound right, all of a sudden, General, you become a target again, despite the fact that on January 5th, they admit they have no case against you. Kind of weird, no?
Yeah. In intelligence operations, one of the things you learn as a young officer, or certainly an intelligence operator on the battlefield, is the first report is always wrong. So when everybody comes in and goes, the house is on fire, you kind of go, wait a second, is it? I mean, did you see it? Well, I didn't see it. Okay, when you read something, somebody gives you a report on something. I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of things presented to me over my military career, for sure. When you read something, and I read things, and I'm like, okay, all right, this, something doesn't sound right here. This is whatever. So you get these pieces of information with all of your other experiences and your judgment and your knowledge about what's happening around the world, and it's like, I'm not sure that's believable, So what I would just say is that what we have learned, that our government, to your audience, Dan, our government, elements within our government did something so egregious to this administration, to President Donald J. Trump, and not to him, just to him, but to the presidency of the United States, to the American public and all the Americans that said, I want him to be our president. So it wasn't just against one man. It was, and I consider myself one of those people, one of those men that were involved in this, that were caught up in it. It wasn't just against a person. It was against all of us. And when somebody comes at one of us like that, in this case, the President of the United States of America, they come against all of us. And when it comes from inside, that's when we got a problem, Dan. Okay? And for your listeners and for anybody else that listens to this message, that's something that the United States of America will never stand for. As a nation of free citizens, we cannot have an internal enemy that is so willingly able and intent on usurping the dutiful authority that's given in us by the Constitution of the United States. And that's what happened. And that's a pretty bold thing to do. It's a pretty bold statement to make, but that's what happened. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's what happened.
General, did you know from the start that this Steele dossier was an internal hit job? Did you know, reading what you had seen, not all of it was public, but did you know from the start, given your experience, that this was a dangerous new perversion in American politics, an internal intelligence hit job on an incoming president and a candidate for office?
Dan, I don't want to sit and say that here. I just think that, like I just, stated, it just didn't feel right, because having gotten to know Donald Trump on the sort of the campaign path, and then knowing how we operate, I mean, you would have thought that something like that would have come out earlier, and they would have said something. But so the whole thing, and I think when you talk about like your gut, your intuition, your instincts, the hair on the back of your neck goes up. Yeah, I mean, I would say that I felt all those things.
And the only reason I ask, sir, is, obviously when you start questioning Comey, as per this Horowitz report, saying, hey, is this stuff vetted? Like, what kind of, just basically your antenna goes up. You become a target again for asking questions, which seems like another hit job to me. But secondly, during the transition, President Obama meets with President Trump, and only one name comes up in the Oval Office out of Barack Obama's mouth. Mm-hmm. And he warns President Trump about you, a decorated American patriot, Lieutenant General. For some reason, Barack Obama only mentions you. Hey, you got to watch this guy. Nobody has ever said that. A decorated general called you the finest intelligence officer he's ever seen. You had an untarnished, unblemished record, and you were appointed by Barack Obama.
Twice.
And in that meeting, he wastes time to warn about you. It makes no sense.
Boy, it doesn't make any sense at all, does it? I mean, and he's never been asked that question. No one's ever asked him that question. Why, Barack, did you say that about me? And, I'd like to ask him that question. I'd like him to answer that question, because I don't know what is in a man's mind or is in his heart. People will, a lot of people that will answer that question for you, Dan. A lot of your audience will answer it for you and answer that question. But I don't know, what was in his mind or in his heart. Why would he waste time worrying about me? And you know what? There's very good reason, because one of the issues that is public and has come up is this whole business about the various foreign policy initiatives that the previous administration got themselves tangled up in with frankly enemies of our country. And that's just going to have to be something that I have to live with this, and I'm actually okay to live with what I did or what I've been involved in. I don't like it necessarily, but I look at it and I say, you know what? If this was the path that God put me on, then for whatever reason, and I'm not, I tell people I don't wear my faith in my sleeve, but I believe, and this was done for a reason, because it exposed, through me and through my situation and through really the grace of God and the warrior and fighting spirit of Sidney Powell, we were able to expose an extraordinary amount of corruption in our government. And it's taken 4 years, right? I mean, it's taken this point, and even the fact that the president had to pardon me is because of another breakdown in our judiciary. And I just think that, we are a country built on values and principles that are derived and in part of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. If we don't protect those and we don't ensure the people that are in our government adhere to those, and now I'm really talking about accountability, Dan, okay? Accountability.
Yeah. And
people must be held accountable. Now, I will tell you that, as you know, and you've talked about this thousands of times, the lack of accountability, except unless you work for Donald Trump, is staggering. And so therefore, that lack of accountability then turns into a lack of trust, and trust in institutions that should otherwise be the most trusted in our government. Federal law enforcement, the judiciary, the Department of Justice. But that lack of intelligence, so that lack of trust is palpable. I mean, it's thick, and it hangs like a heavy cloud over the people of our country. And so, going forward, and I would say that in a second administration of Donald Trump, that has to be fixed. That has to be changed. There has to be a renewed confidence in those institutions. Otherwise, we will continue to break down as a society. Because if there's one thing that I fought for, other than the right to a free and fair vote, I also fought for our rule of law in this country. And the rule of law in this country is what makes us different, vastly different than any other country on the planet, because we are a nation built on laws and values. And if those two things get taken in the middle of the night by corrupt government officials, both appointed and bureaucrats, that's a real weight that this country is not going to be able to stand to hold much longer.
We'll be right back with Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. Thanks again for your patience. Our final sponsor today is my new favorite product, the Power Air Fryer. We absolutely love it. Power XL Air Fryer, it's amazing. Paula's empanadas are absolutely fantastic in the Power Air Fryer, the best in the business. Love them. Be lost without it. So I'm excited about our new part of the Power XL Air Fryer grill. You can replace 8 kitchen appliances with the Power XL. It's an air fryer, a grill, rotisserie, convection oven, pizza oven, griddle, deep fryer, and a toaster oven all in one. Get rid of all the other stuff. Now you got one thing. The Power XL cooks with hot air, not oil, and the food comes out delicious. You can cook healthier. You know I'm big into the health stuff. You can cook healthier with up to 70% fewer calories from fat, and the food tastes absolutely delicious. I'm telling you, Paula's empanadas in there are priceless. Can we have those tonight? There you go. And even a picture up for the screen she put up for our Rumble viewers. You can cook for the whole family. It fits over 4 times more food than a traditional air fryer and cooks faster, much faster to save you time. The secret is the heating elements from above, the side, and below the grill plate, combined with turbo blades that are angled to distribute the heat evenly throughout the entire cooking surface. It also comes with a ton of accessories like a non-stick grill plate, easy to wash, crisper tray, baking pan, dip tray, and oven rack. They're all dishwasher safe, so cleanup is super easy. It's almost like they sat down, thought out of all the problems with cooking appliances, and decided to start solving them. Great move. That's why it's the #1 brand of air fryers in the United States. We love it. We'd be lost in my house without it. The food is delicious and healthy. The Power XL air fryer, great gift, by the way, too. Comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. They'll thank you for it if you buy this for someone. Right now, they have an exclusive offer just for my show. If you go to trypowerxl.com and use promo code Bongino, Bongino, you'll receive 10% off plus free shipping and a free cookbook. So head to power, Power, XL.com and use our promo code Bongino. One last time for this incredibly affordable deal and this great product. Trypowerxl.com, use promo code Bongino. Makes a great gift too. Now back to our show. Back with General Michael Flynn. General, thank you for your time. This will be my exit question. You've been extremely generous with your time, and you have my sincere gratitude, again, and admiration for everything you've done. It's your character really speaks loudly in this. You're not. I would be interested in revenge and retribution. I'm not half the man you are, but that you've been so gracious here is really incredible. And that leads me to my exit question. One of the things that's always bothered me about this is the allegations against you, again, as we covered throughout the show, whether it was the sanctions lie, or the Lokhova impropriety, which is a total farce. You left the event. Her boyfriend picked her up, gave an affidavit as such. This is all absurdities. They're all just bizarre. National Enquiry's gotten stories right. This is garbage. But one of the other things that bothers me is, and when the FBI opened up cases in August of 2016 against people on the Trump team, Manafort, Page, and Papadopoulos, August 10th, 2016, they did not open up a case against you right away. But you know what's fascinating? Somebody got annoyed by that. Who it is, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate with you on the phone, be inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody got annoyed that the FBI was investigating you. And you know what happened, General? 6 days later, the FBI did open up a case against you on August 16th.
Yep.
But it was only after a mysterious FBI spy showed up and his handler brought him in. Interesting. And that's where the allegation begins that you had this improper relationship with this woman at this 2015 dinner at Cambridge. So the FBI or someone got wind that, hey, we looked into Flynn. I don't really see anything. Spy shows up. It's all in the Horowitz report. Says, hey, I don't know. Flynn had this weird thing going with this Lokhova woman. Totally false, completely debunked. And then 6 days later, August 16th, they magically open up a case against you.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. So my question to you on exit, because you seem so committed to reform and a second Trump administration, not revenge, which is so admirable, is can we fix this? This intelligence infrastructure, this law enforcement breakdown where they opened up a case against you based on not even innuendo, total garbage. Can we fix this?
Yeah. Well, I always tell people that there's two types of problems. There's solvable problems and there's manageable problems. In government, I think it's government overall is a manageable problem that really strong leaders in our government, and that means choosing strong leaders. That means choosing strong people like a President Donald J. Trump, who's a strong leader type, and others in our government. Put strong leaders in there who have the guts to take on and manage, a large problem, large bureaucracies, but also seek the types of problems that can be solved. And those are two big statements. But back to what you talked about in the fall of 2016, early fall of 2016, or late summer. What you're getting at again is behavior by government officials cannot be like we've seen like has been factually based. That kind of behavior cannot be tolerated, should not be tolerated. And I'll go back to accountability. In order to solve problems, you have to hold people accountable for their actions. And as a military guy, I mean, I've always been, and I think most people that have worked around me would tell you that, General Flynn has been a very fair guy when it comes to, having to deal with people. I always hated to use UCM, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and I'd like to deal with, especially young guys, through their parents sometimes. It's worse to call up a mom and tell her mom that her son's screwing up than bust a guy down a couple of ranks, You get more out of them. Mm-hmm. But we have to have leaders at the top of our government that have the guts to hold people accountable and hold them accountable. I mean, a discussion for another day and maybe over a beer is, the kind of the people in our government that I would love to hold accountable right now. But we have to have that. If we do not hold people accountable for egregious behavior, immoral, unethical, and in some cases illegal behavior, then it's a breakdown in our system. When you begin to hold people accountable, and for the right reasons, you begin to hold people accountable, it begins to correct the system, because people then see that, I know that behavior is wrong, but nobody cares about it. Nobody's holding anybody accountable for it. So it just becomes the normal part of the behavior in an organization. And so we can solve some of these problems. We absolutely can solve some of these problems, but it is going to take the type of leadership. So if Donald Trump thinks everybody hates him, well, I'll tell you what, I'd rather be right and disliked than corrupt and have that feeling about me that I'm just trying to get away with something. I couldn't. I mean, there are people that can live with themselves like that. There are people that can live with themselves like that, and all these people that are just attacking our president on a daily basis. My God, imagine had the losers in 2016 said, you know what? Let's just allow this guy. Let's debate him on things and let's disagree on certain things. But let's see what he can do. Right? He said all these things. Donald Trump made a lot of promises. Let's see what he can do. Well, guess what? I mean, despite being, having bricks thrown at him every day, figuratively by all sorts of angles, he still accomplished an extraordinary amount of things for our country. And I do believe that it is amazing. It's amazing. And with everything. And then you throw on top of it this COVID stuff. And here we are. So there's solvable problems and there's manageable problems. I think Donald Trump gets an A for solving many and managing many, despite the constant barrage of attacks that he has experienced. And again, the last point, Dan, for you and your audience, it's not just him that they're going after, and they forget this. It's the American people. And when the American people feel like they're under attack, they then begin to look at things differently, and they wake up and they start to say, I'm going to get more involved. I will tell you to finish with this disastrous election process that we're going through right now, the American people are awake, and they are not going to stand for this basically massive amount of fraud, despite what the mainstream media says. These great patriots who are coming out and testifying in all these hearings around the country. I mean, God love them. And I know that there's more of them than are just represented by those that are standing up in front of a mic somewhere. So anyway, Dan, I really want to just say to you again, as we started, my family and I, we pray for you and we wish you all the best. And we know that you're a strong guy and you'll do fine. And thank you so much for your really unshakable support from the beginning. As I said a little while ago, you've been right about this the whole time.
Sir, it was my great honor. I deeply appreciate your kind words. And I can't say enough. There is a takeaway from the whole show. I'd say you just said it. The American people are awake. And I will say one last thing, which I said to you yesterday on our first phone call, but I'll say to you now because I mean it, and we'll wrap up the show on this, that even the most jaded eyes of history are going to view you as one of the great American patriots of this time, and the people who came after you as the traitors to our republic and the ideas it stands for. I will take that to the grave. General Flynn, thank you for your time. I deeply appreciate it. My admiration for you is endless. And I hope we can all get through this, come out on the other side and look back. And like you said, we'll have that beer one day. All right.
Absolutely. God bless you, Dan. God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. We deeply appreciate it. That was Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. Never disappoints. See you soon.
You just heard Dan Bongino.